Hey there everyone, I want to go over a few tips on adding value to your 2-point sculptures. First, we're going to practice a little bit, and hopefully by now you kind of planned out where your light source is. If you can sort of tell, my light source is right around here, kind of coming from the top corner. The lightest part is anything that's kind of on the top below my vanishing point. Remember, this is my eye level. So anything kind of above my eye level, I'm not going to see the top, but the tops over here are going to get the lightest shade of my pencil. And then basically number 2 would be any of these. As long as you kind of understand that these faces line up with each other and are parallel basically to each other, it's going to be easier to understand where your kind of shading numbers are. So my number 1 will be kind of the very top, even over here on this cylinder. And then my number 2 were these guys, and even kind of like over here on this side. Again, a cylinder goes kind of curves around it, so it's a little bit different than a flat form, or a flat faced form, I should say. But make sure you're kind of paying attention to that. So here you see a number 2, a number 3, and a number 4. Now, as you all know with my videos, let me just show you there. I have to change the angle just a little bit so you can see that my dark is really rather dark. It starts to get reflecting on that light. So just keep that in mind. I'll show you again that, but we have a very much different, 3 different values here, okay? Not my lightest light, that goes here and here, but my second lightest light, so that's number 2, number 3, number 4, okay? So make sure you have kind of that planned. I do on a practice, you could always write the numbers really light on it. For your final one, you might not want to do that because it might show through, but keep in mind, we've got lots of different shading pencils. Right now I have my 2B, my 4B, and my 8B. So for my lighter colors, I'll use a 2B, or maybe even use a number 2, which is like an HB, because you don't want to press too hard. For your darker, my mid-tone, right here, I used a 4B. And then for my darkest dark, again, angle, I used 8B, okay? But what I want to show you is just remind you of some good shading techniques. So right here, this is kind of like my middle gray. I'm going to use the 4B. And what I want to do is I'm kind of trying to match what I see here. Never use the very point, kind of use the edge, make sure it's nice and sharp. And I go in one direction at first. Don't press too hard, too fast. That's where we get into trouble. With colored pencils, regular old graphite pencils, kind of layering your colored pencils is key. What I want to do is I want to turn this. I like kind of working this way. Now I go in the opposite direction, and maybe I'll build up a little bit more pressure. By going in the opposite direction, what happens is I kind of get rid of that linear quality, right? That linear directional quality, and maybe clean up that areas. I keep flipping it. And as I do, I maybe add a little more pressure. I want to try and get to that level. Again, don't go too dark, too fast. I also flipped it so I don't smudge. Guys, turn things around so you're less likely to smudge, or take a kind of piece of scrap paper. Whatever works for you. But you want to be neat. And you want to take your time. And you want to build up that pressure, that value. When you don't, if you kind of go too fast, it's going to look maybe a little scratchy, a little scribbly, and it's not going to be your best work. So now I'm kind of getting to that value that I want, kind of matching up with that, darker than this side. Because again, my light source is coming from this corner, so this side's not going to get as much light. Less light, darker value. So I'll flip this and kind of show you what we've got going here, okay? So practice first before you go on to your good sculpture. Get the hang of understanding the different faces and the different values that will kind of come out on each face. And then we'll work on our sculptures. This will be an assignment though, assignment grade, so make sure you turn it in. Good luck.